I am 350 subs away from 5K, so please go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to do a Q&A for 5K, so leave your questions in the comments below. But today, Sentinels got absolutely annihilated by KRU, and it was not even close. They got destroyed on Lotus, and then Icebox dominated with Solo Viper. And I must say, I feel pretty vindicated right now. I said that after Fuel Nerfs, I didn't think Viper as solo controller on Icebox would be good, and everyone's like, no, you're a noob, blah, 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 blah. And Sentinels lost with it. I mean, you have 10 seconds of fuel after Fuel Nerfs, and when you are, in terms of your smoke duration, being compared to my duration in the bedroom, you have an issue. That's why I don't like Clove comps. That's why I don't like Solo Viper. So let's go ahead and see how Sentinels got destroyed by KRU here on Icebox. Let's take a look at Sentinel's bonus round here. Now, important thing to note is that KRU do have an op online here. However, it's over on B, and they execute for Sentinels coming in on A. Everyone else has, you know, the standard Guardian, Bulldog thing, except for, I want to say Menzino. People were complaining in the comments about how I pronounce names. I want to let you know, if I'm, like, obviously mispronouncing a name, it's probably engagement bait. But since it pisses you guys off, I'll stop. But I am genuinely curious. Is it Manzino or Mazzino? Because I've always heard it with an N, but there is no N right there. Anyways, Bang goes ahead to break the mid turret to force the re-clear out here, and it does come out from this Killjoy. Then you're going to go ahead and execute back into the A site. And KRU, honestly, you have mollies on site. You have 3 people here, especially your harbor, so you can keep refreshing those walls. This is pretty good for KRU. The issue is going to be Zekin gets in there, and he's going to be baited a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. It is like 10 seconds before anyone else pushes out with him, which if, you know, a KRU member is on site actually trying to fight him and Zekin dies, you very well could lose the round because of just bad spacing. Like, look at where people are on the minimap. However, they finally do come in, and Zekin, after his teammates come in, can go ahead and try and take fights now that he knows he can get traded. Nary trades him out after he gets the first blood, and you pretty much win it from here. So overall, it wasn't terrible from Sentinels, but kind of a sign of things that could be issues moving forward, right? You never want your duelist on site for 15 seconds as you kind of cower outside of a Harbor Viper wall refresh cycle. Not good. I want to talk about this round that Sentinels went. Keep in mind they have no idea the op is online. And this is just kind of some tomfoolery. So the op now, boom, you've eliminated the lurker. 5v4 situation. Sentinels now know, okay, op is on B, but KRU've seen our Viper. Our Viper was the only person there, which means it's probably a lurker, which means A is probably stacked now. So you can either try and very quickly run over into an op or hit a stacked site. This round should be lost, right? You don't have a good option in any of that. This round should be lost, but it isn't. Sentinels players just win their gunfights here. Bad spacing and no trades coming through from KRU, and now you have to save the op again. It's both good and bad when you're winning these rounds. It's good if you're able to pull some of these rounds out while also having good ideas and tactically being able to say, you know, we know what we're doing. We just had a bad situation that we can get out of with firepower. The issue is when the only rounds you win are off of firepower and stuff like that, that becomes an issue. And that's what happened kind of for Sen here, is they can out firepower KRU, right? Like, I'm fully comfortable as a Sen hater saying they have a much better roster than KRU. But tactically, they looked lost at times, to say the least. I could go, you know, oh, analytically, blah, 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 analytically this, analytically that. But honestly, this round came down to Mazzino or Manzino. Again, please comment and let me know which is which. Also, just please comment in general. It really helps out videos if it gets comments. And I love reading comments. I read like every single one. So just tell me if you liked it. Tell me what I did well. Tell me what I did wrong. Just all that. Please, I love reading the comments. Anyways, Mazzino or Manzino gets the clutch, helps them win what was a thrifty, and now KRU start to dominate. Then are trying to throw a molly to break the mid turret. Pretty standard stuff, and again, standard stuff from KRU breaking it off rip. You should pretty much always have someone here if you know they're going to throw mollies off rip, or even just for a couple seconds, have them there, then they can go reinforce A. Kesna hasn't gotten too much value with the op, had some on a retake situation, but that's about it. But he's able to get the first blood here, and this is where Solo Viper starts to come into play. The orb for Viper is going to be mid, as it, you know, standard orb for Bang. The issue is that his wall, which is the only thing you can possibly block Jet's line of sight with, is going to be active for about max of, I believe it's 10 or 11 seconds. And that is it. That is all that it can be on for. As you can see, it's off now. And then they're pretty much forced to go A. You can't try and hit this site when you can't smoke off the op player. You just can't. So then you're forced to go over to A, where who knows who's here, right? Zelsus, he, I would say, has gathered some space, but honestly, not too much when they started rotating. Now he's getting into a more advanced position, definitely. And then again, you can go ahead and try and start to stall them out with KRU. You can stall them out, use these Viper walls, and then cycle to a Harbor wall. I really, really like what teams do with this. I think it originated, or at least the earliest I can remember, was when Loud was doing it in Lock-In, where you would cycle the Harbor and Viper wall over and over and over and over. Now it goes down to a shock dart, making it a 3v5, and again, you would need a pretty big misplay here to lose this. John QT and Zelsus, the famous aimers of Sentinels, are not going to be able to get it done, making it 4-5. I don't know what you're thinking. Well, the title said that Sentinels got dominated or destroyed or something. I haven't figured it out yet. I can't. Sentinels have lost so many embarrassing games that I forget what titles I've used, so I'm trying to figure out a good title. But whatever it is, and they're up right now. Just wait. Be patient, buddy. Cool Zekken Ace, it kind of reminds me of one Aspas had on Icebox not too long ago.
Looking for one of those signature floods. This time, the shock dart won't claim the race left. Another half as they try to flood in. Zekken is too sharp. Oh, buddy, that is filthy. 3 for Zekken now at null command in play. Give him the rest. Just Kesnet left now, and Zekken will...
And again, the benefits of Harbor Viper. Here's what it is. Viper Wall goes up on B off of RIP. You've thrown this before the game starts, which means now there are 3 Sentinels players on B because of this. But you're going to hit A, which now only has a single Sova on it. For some reason, they didn't put the turret mid here. They just put it on A and then had Zelsus kind of walk mid with a Sheriff. I don't really agree with that, but, you know, it is what it is. And then, boom, you have gained sight because you're playing this comp, right? And then you have the Harbor util to use to make sure they're not going to try and retake. And, in fact, after the plant, they use it to stall, as you can see with that cascade right there. And, again, please start playing Harbor Viper. A lot of teams have adapted to it. Everyone needs to. Please stop thinking that a 10-second warrior in Viper is going to save you. Will not. Now, Zekken does look like he's about to go ahead and win the round for Sen. Slight issue, though, and that is that Kesnet, I believe that's how you say his name, Kesnet, is not a big fan of that. So he's going to instead kill everyone. 1v1, Narrate versus Kesnet, and then Narrate calls him a particular word for killing him. KRU get possibly the most control you could have over this orb. They use Molly for Viper, KJ Molly, Sova Shock Dart, and then a Harbor Cascade. That orb is not going to a Sentinels player. I'm sorry, it's just not. That's probably the most safe orb I think I've ever seen. You use every bit of utility you possibly could to control that orb. So they do, in fact, control the orb. However, a great scan comes out from Zekken, but Kesnet says, okay, I don't need a dash. I'm just going to get on the site. I don't need a dash. Dashes are for people who need them. I don't need them. I'm like that. So he goes ahead and then he backs up because there's a Harbor ult from him. Lets his team kind of go ahead and fight. Bang does get the kill. However, after the shooting, again, boom, boom, bang, bang, 2v3 turned really quickly into a 2v2, which is then turned into a 1v1. It'll be KJ versus KJ here. And as you can see, it's Zelsus versus Shy. Shy at the slight disadvantage because he has to plant and also has slightly less HP. And then they go ahead, take their fight, boom, boom. Zelsus doesn't know where he is, and then gets killed. 8-7. They gain orb control again, doing pretty much the same thing here, but I have something way more important to show you, and that is what happens with Narrate. He gets in a good position. He's ready to kill them when they try and go through their own Harbor wall. The issue is that he kind of, he said something. If anyone reads the lips, I want you to look at the player cam here. He said something, I think it was 149. I don't think he ripped it again, but who knows, man, maybe he did. Sentinels players have a fascination with it, apparently, but it's going to be 9-7, KRU firmly on top. And I want to use this round to talk kind of about NRG's problem, and I've diagnosed this from the start, and it's, if Zekken is not saving them, then they have a huge issue. He went 8 for 2 in First Bloods. Like, do we understand how insane that is? That a guy gets 8 First Bloods, dies twice, and you still get blown out. He had 20-something kills. No one else on the team was even positive. I do still think that Sen fans overrated. They put him in conversation that he's not ready to be in. He still is a very, very, very good duelist. And Sentinel's issue has been they put too much on him, right? Again, obviously, when you have 10s, he's a very aggressive Omen. It's a lot easier for you on that entry when you have the world-class initiator that is Saucy, and then 10s on the Omen to kind of help you with some entering duties. That's going to be easier for Zekken. But you've switched, and you have to figure something out, right? The role swaps aren't helping. John has said he's more comfortable IGLing on Initiator, which makes sense because that's the optimal role, but he seems more comfortable as a player on the Sentinel role. So it's just something that you need to figure out a fix for, and you need to figure it out quick, because otherwise Sen will not be able to beat teams like KRU. And what I mean by like KRU is good teams, solid teams. I think KRU is a good team, right? I think they placed third. Not third, excuse me, I might have placed third. I think they placed like 4th or 5th in kickoff. Like, they are a good team. You need to figure something out if you're Sentinels here. Now, is it, we stop trying to do so much with Zekken? Is it we change the roles back around? I don't know, but you need to figure out something. Kesnet got off rip, so now KRU need to make their way into the A site without an entry duels. But I love what Sentinels are doing here. They're playing in front of the Harbor Wall here, in front of the Viper Wall, getting really ahead of this. It doesn't end up working out, but I do like the idea. The issue is that now, again, you still don't have that jet. Even though you've equalized numbers, you have to get on site, and you have to make that space without dying. Unfortunately for KRU, it's not able to happen here. Zekken has the op online, but it doesn't even end up mattering here. One good thing and one kind of topic that, again, a lot of arguments on my channel have spurted from. Good job, Melzer, not popping the pit on low HP. Again, there have been a lot of arguments on my channel about low HP Viper pits, so you'll notice he doesn't. Good job. This is the last round that Sen will win because KRU lock in after this. KRU should have lost this round, to be honest. First blood gotten by Sentinels. Zekken has an op. You have low time. You have to push into him. But here's the thing. If only Sentinels had an agent who could, I don't know, put something down to maybe block the line of sight of the enemy and make them scared to take space. Because Zekken here is going to die because he's scared about behind him. He has to go back and forth. He dies from behind, man. If only there were agents that existed in the game where you could, put something down to block the line of sight of the opposition, the opposing team, and make it to where they weren't going to be able to just fight you from every angle. Unfortunately, that's just a theory, a game theory, and Manzino or Mazzino gets another clutch here. KRU decided to hit B this round, and again, Harbor Viper, I love it. I love it so much because you've used the Viper Wall so much off rip here that now Sen don't even stack here anymore. So it gives you that advantage without them even thinking of it as an advantage because they're so used to it. They're like, yeah, of course he throws the Viper Wall here. He always throws the Viper Wall here. And then they hit A. Well, we're smart. We're not going to get fooled by that this time. And then they get fooled by it. And then you end up hitting B. Again, I cannot overstate how much I love Harbor Viper. Anyways, Zekken back yellow here. He has a, not really hero rifle, but he has one of their 3. Gets the first blood, but instantly traded out. John QT, though, able to get them up numbers. Kesnet grabbing that rifle. And again, I want to talk about impactful first bloods for a second, because that right there, when you get instantly traded out, it can be thought of as a non-impactful first blood, right? But now, don't get me wrong, all first bloods matter, but that isn't the same first blood as, if you're able to continue to have the numbers if John Q didn't get that kill, right? So if Zekken gets the kill there and gets out, that's a more impactful first blood there. Obviously, it's better that he got the kill because otherwise he would have died. I also thought that from Kesnet was just nasty, where his knives get disabled, he just hits him in the head. But you're probably wondering here, how do KRU win this round, right? I've said Sentinels didn't win any more rounds. So how in the world do KRU win this round? Bang has his ult online, Shy's 1 HP, and they have to retake into a Viper's Pit. Well, first off, the time is already bad, but second of all, Shy understands what he needs to do so well, which is just go 1 for 1. As soon as he dies, it's a lot easier for Manzino to go ahead, get this kill to end the round, and eventually the game. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, please make sure to subscribe. I really want to hit 5K. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.